Welcome back, guys. Hopefully you and your families are all safe and doing well. In this second scatter plot lesson, guys, we're basically going to be analyzing scatter plots and correlation now with the calculator, right? So what if the Regents doesn't give you or show you the actual scatter plot, but they show you a table? Can you get the scatter plot in your calculator to figure out? Remember the three scatter plots we learned last lesson where it was a positive correlation, no correlation, or a negative correlation? Well, can we get that with the calculator? And the answer is yes, okay? So the buttons in order to get your scatter plot. Second plus 712 to clear the calculator as always. Stat enter to get your L1s and L2s. But remember last time when I talked about how to put measures of central tendency in the calculator, we only focused on the L1. When you put a scatter plot in the calculator, guys, you're going to put the X values in L1, and then you're going to put the Y values in L2, and I'll show you what that is. And then, of course, it's going to be second Y equals enter, enter, and then you're going to hit zoom 9. And I'll keep these buttons posted pretty much throughout the whole lesson so you constantly see them, because, guys, at the end of the day, you have to memorize that. So here's a perfect example of a part 2 Regents question, right? That's going to give you a table and want to know the correlation and what it suggests and things like that, okay? So we're talking about carbohydrates and calories, no problem. So we want to put this table into the calculator. Well, one thing you have to know is this, and now the Regents gave it to you right here. They told you that this is X and this is Y. That is how it always is. They're not always going to tell you that though, so you have to know that the first column is always X, the second's always Y. So I like to label it always. This is my X, and if it's X, it's always going to go in the L1 column. This is my Y values, and they're always going to go in the L2. Always. That will not change. So now that we know that, let's clear our calculator and get this information in. Remember, second plus 712 enter. Stat enter. And I'll put a card up in the previous lesson so you can review those buttons. And then, of course, 8, 9.5, 10, 6, 7, 4. Now, to get to the L2, you hit the right arrow. Now, notice the calculator is ready for you to enter the L2 column. So now it's 120, enter, 138, 147, 88, 108, and 62. What you want to check before you go through, always check, because if you have one extra number here or one extra number here and these aren't equal, then it's not going to work. You're going to get a syntax error, so you have to know that. So now that I know I have the same amount of numbers in both L1 and L2, it's second function, Y equals, enter, enter, and what that does is that locks on the scatter plot. Notice here's your scatter plot here, and it's on. And now you just hit zoom, which is right here in the middle, and then nueve, 9, boom. And guys, there is your scatter plot. We know, based on what we did in the last lesson, I told you that any scatter plot that is increasing like this is a positive scatter plot. And that's what this is, a positive correlation. So let's go down here. It says, what type of correlation is represented in the above table? So guys, literally the first point in the Regents is to write that in. And what you're going to write, and please bear with my writing, of course, it's still hard to do. This is a positive correlation or correlation. And I just wrote that a little sloppy, and I apologize. Boom. There you go. That's all you have to do. Now, it does talk about this. It does talk about what does the scatter plot suggest about the data, okay? So now that we know it's a positive correlation, remember what we said, that both data sets are increasing. Remember, carbohydrates is your x-axis. So as you're increasing the carbohydrates on the x-axis, your calories, the y-axis, is also increasing, okay? So that's what you have to say. As, and you could abbreviate, guys, as you write this out. As carbs increase, calories also increase. Simple. That's all they wanted for this, all right? It's a positive correlation, so as carbohydrates are increasing, the calories are also increasing. Simple. Let's look at another one. Again, I'm putting the buttons here for you guys, all right, so you can have everything you need, memorize them. Now notice the table's slightly different. Here the table we had was vertical, right? X is the first column, Y is the second column, L1, L2. Well, now the way this is going to be is, and this is also important to know, your top is always your X or your L1. Your bottom is always Y or your L2, always, okay? And now in this one, we're talking about basically the sale price of homes, and then of course the number of new homes that are available. That's what this table's talking about. So it says, what type of correlation? Well, let's get to our calculator and clear it out. Second plus 712, enter. And then of course, stat enter. And let's put the sale price in first. So 160, 180, 200, 220. I wish I knew how to edit and fast forward this step for you guys. I'm sorry. Please comment below on how to do that. If you know how I can edit that and get like this section of fast forward, that would be great. So you don't have to be bored to death as I put these numbers in. 280, enter. Okay, now we want to get to L2. Remember, hit your right arrow. It goes right over to L2 and it waits for you to enter the numbers. So it's 126. It's 103. It's 82. It's 75. It's 82. It's 40. And it is 20. So there you go. Check before you go through. Make sure you have the same amount of numbers in both columns. I do. So now I hit second, Y equals, enter to lock on my scatter plot, and then it's zoom 9. Boom. And there you go. Now, what did I tell you about this in the last lesson? And I'll put a card up at the top for it, right? Notice these are trending down. That is a negative correlation, okay? As the X value increases, the Y value decreases, okay? So what type of correlation is this? This is get my pen up. This is a negative. Negativo. That's negative in Spanish, guys. Correlation. All right, or correlación, I think. I'm pretty sure. Okay, negative correlation. Simple. That's all the Regents wants you to do there. That's very simple. There's a point. Now again, what does the scatter plot suggest about the data? Well, what does it suggest? What are we talking about? Sale price. As sale price increases. And sure, you could write the word increases out, but you can abbreviate with the arrow. That is fine. The number of new homes available decreases. Simple. And that is true. As the sale price is increasing on the x-axis, guys, the number of new homes available decrease. That is what this scatter plot is suggesting or showing you, right? That's the trend that it's showing. Remember, scatter plots show trends. That's the trend it is showing. Let's look at one more. Again, I'm putting the buttons here for you guys. Memorize these. Here's an example of a part 1 on the Regents. Simple. Now notice, they're giving you 4 scatter plots to look at, okay? So you want to put this table in the calculator in order to figure out which scatter plot is going to be. So it says, which scatter plot shows Romero's data graphically, which means they want you to graph it. Or you could technically graph and check each graph below, but that will take time. We're going to put it in our calculator. Just remember, guys, as we talked about before, here it is. This is always your L1, right? This is your X value. This is your Y value, and this is always your L2, always. So let's go back to the calculator. Let's clear it out. Second plus 712, enter. Now this one's pretty easy. Stat enter, it's 1 through 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then again, guys, you just hit the right arrow. Boom, you're in the L2. Just put these numbers in carefully. I put them in wrong last time I practiced this. 9, 3, 2. 9, 3, 2. 6, 8, 6. 6, 8, 6. 10, 4, 5. And finally 2. Before you go through the rest of it, check to make sure these numbers are the same. They are the same. Now it's second function, y equals, enter to lock in your scatter plot. And then of course you hit zoom 9, bang. By the way, no correlation, right? Just that's for a review. This is a no correlation scatter plot. But that's not what it wants to know. It wants to know which of these, right? Which scatter plot shows Romero's data graphically? So which one of these matches this? Well, if you look very carefully, guys, it is choice 2. All right, choice 2 is my answer. And here's why. If you notice, you have 2 dots here, you have those 2 dots there. The 1 up here, you have that here, you have this group of 3 here. You also have that there. You have this cluster of 3, 1, 2, and 3. And you have that 1, 2, and 3, and then you have the 1 up here, and that's that right there. And that's why it is choice 2. Now, let's say you did it and you could not, for whatever reason, you just can't visually see that it's the same. You could always check by graphing. This is the X, this is the Y. So this says over 1, up 9. So you go over 1, up 9, there's your point. Over 2, up 3, over 3, up 2, over 4, up 6, over 5, up 8, right? That's the numbers we have here, 6 and 6. So you could always check the graph like that as well. All right, and that's it. And that's the regions. And that's how, guys, those are the only ways scatter plots are going to come up on your regions. This is simple. So guys, that's basically it for scatter plots, okay? Hopefully you downloaded the worksheet and the lesson so you could follow along and practice these problems. For any questions for me, please email me at bwritingcihs@yahoo.com. Please comment below what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you possibly want to see. So subscribe, like, and share to anyone who needs to see this. And as always, guys, more importantly than anything, more important than scatter plots in your regions, you and your family, please stay safe. See you guys on the next lesson. See you!